Do this with you. What's up, everybody? Coach Dalen with Never Settle Athletics. With me today, I got our head coach up in Washington, Danny May. A little background on us. We're strength and conditioning coaches. We've been in the industry for a long time, former athletes ourselves. We kind of wanted to start this series of talking to current and former athletes, college, pro, high school, a little bit of everything just to kind of see where people are with strength and conditioning. What are their thoughts on it? What do they think can improve? How they wish they would have done things differently or better. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for about 10 years myself. I was a former college baseball player, ended the career short due to Tommy John surgery. And that's what got me into strength and conditioning was wanting to help others not have to go through the same trials and tribulations that I did as an athlete. So I've been doing this for 10 years, love every minute of it. Danny and I partnered together about a year ago now to build up Never Settle Athletics. And that's kind of what we're getting into today. So episode one is technically Danny May as our first guest. So Danny, I'll pass it over to you. Give me a little bit about yourself. Give me a little background rundown.
I'm Coach Danny. I was born and raised in Washington. Started out playing three sports: basketball, football, and track. Started really fall in love with football, but I didn't really have the strength and conditioning background in high school because my school didn't really offer any strength and conditioning, any like great programming, right? So it was kind of just me doing my own research, working out in the garage gym. And fast forward a year, I commit to go play junior college for football and track down in Southern California. So I'm down there and I kind of get into my first performance training facility. That's where I saw all my athletic gains. I got, bigger, faster, stronger, figured out actually how my body needs to work to perform better in football, perform better in track. That's what led me to, place top five in California for javelin twice. And that's what ended up getting me, a scholarship to a couple different schools in California, but I kind of cut it short because I did start doing performance training in the strength and conditioning world. And so this is my second year in, no longer competing. I do have some eligibility left, but I'm saving that to give back to all my clients. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was I grew up in a town, pretty small town in Washington, where I didn't have the access to the proper training, the proper guidance. I didn't have the
Right.
keys castle. But so that's kind of what I want to do is give back. I want to make sure kids know, how to properly lift, the right things to do for your sport, the nutrition, the mobility,
Mhm.
everything that can turn you into, the athlete that you're looking to become.
Yeah, I love that. And that's going to kind of dive me into question number one I have for you. The people want to know, um, being from a small town, like your small town's how many? How many people?
I mean, when I was there, it had to have been like 2 to 3,000, maybe
Yeah.
that, and it might be a little bit more now, but that could even be skewed. It might be like 1,500 range.
So super, super small town, a little different from Orange County, California, where I'm at,
Yeah.
where there's a million people within a stone's throw. But the main thing, so how did you manage being in a small town with the lack of strength and conditioning resources? Because you were a naturally really good athlete. You played the three sports, you were a two-star. Um, you excelled on and off the field, but with zero strength and conditioning background, zero weightlifting background, how did you manage still, the recovery, the performance, the explosiveness, the strength? Like, how did you still manage to do all of that, or did you do any of it?
So in high school, yeah, we had like, we had someone write down one workout for everyone in the school, right? We didn't have any really specifics until maybe sophomore year. There's a little bit more. I feel like all of my high school, what at my school at least, and we didn't have performance facilities. There was one that was like 2 hour drive, couldn't do that every day. So I got my form down, I feel like at school. And then it turned into me and like two of my buddies that we ended up doing a bunch of research about, hey, like, how do I get faster? How do I get more mobile? All these things to make us better athletes. So it turned into like the garage gym grind where,
Mm,
we find these little templates and programs to work on our mobility, work on our speed, whether we need to develop our hip flexors, develop, stronger quads, hamstrings, whatever it is to get faster, add in resisted running. So we did our research and we started just like plugging in and playing it, and that's kind of what helped me get to the level of athleticism that I needed to get ranked, to get, offered out of a small town with no resources, right? Limited to no resources. I didn't have guidelines. So I kind of went out with a couple of my buddies. We did the research, and then it ended up working out. But whether it was just on YouTube or Instagram, obviously you can get a lot nowadays from online. So I think we just kind of we plugged and played with all the things that we found online, and it ended up working enough for me to get that college level, that JUCO
Yeah.
level to start. And then, when I get to Orange County, I go to a really good strength and conditioning facility. I learn a lot more about actually what it takes to get bigger, faster, and stronger, and perform better, whether it was javelin or football.
Yeah.
And then all that process kind of played out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna take a deep dive into the JUCO life in a little bit because I wanna talk a lot about that. A lot of people talk down on the JUCO life. You and I were both JUCO bandits, so it's not a situation to take lightly. I think it's a great resource for everybody, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, yeah, lack of resources, that's tough. A lot of the people probably watching right now are from an area to where, yeah, there's probably not a strength and conditioning coach within 200 miles. And at the same time, that strength and conditioning coach is maybe a NASM certified personal trainer, maybe
Yeah,
an old football coach that maybe went JUCO a long time
yeah,
ago, and they're using military techniques to help strengthen condition athletes. Running long distance, that's not strength and conditioning.
no,
Having them just run random sprints, I mean, it's good, but it's not strength and conditioning. Having them flip tires and do push-ups with terrible form, that's not strength and conditioning. Strength and
no.
conditioning is so much more to that. There's so much more science that's built up into that now, which will lead me into the next thing because I have my answer. I think about this almost daily when I talk to my athletes. Um, if you, Danny now could go back, well, let's say you got a new client, walks into the facility day one. He's 12 years old. He plays football, he throws javelin, plays basketball, and his name is Danny May, and he's 12 years old, and you had him as a client from 12 to 18. So
Hmm.
you get to train your younger self for the next 6 years. Where would then 18-year-old Danny May, where would he end up? Where would he be?
I mean, to be honest, knowing what I know now,
Realistically,
yeah, realistically,
realistically,
starting at 12, knowing what I know now from, all the places I've trained at as an athlete and, all the research we've done, everything that we've figured out, I would definitely see myself still pursuing football, either playing that quarterback or outside linebacker position at a Division I school. And, I mean, at this point, if I was all in football, football was, I breathed football, lived and breathed it. And I was like, hey, I was NFL or bust type of kid, from a
yeah.
super small town. So, I would definitely have seen myself. I couldn't say, I don't know if I'd made the NFL, but there could have been, CFL or something. But I for sure would have went.
You got 6 years to train yourself. You got six
I
years to
know
train yourself.
6 years. I think, at that point, I definitely at 18, I would have been, having the offers that I was looking for. I would have had, the possibility to go to the dream schools, the Division I schools that I dreamed of going to. I
Yeah.
think I could have been that caliber of a player, right?
Yeah.
Versus being, someone who is like, we can give you a shot to walk on at a low tier FCS school, versus like, hey, I want to go, FBS top D1, give me in some bowl games type of guy. I think
Yeah.
the training that we know now, and if I put that on myself from 12 to 18, I would have been that caliber of an athlete with just the right, because I had the drive, I had the discipline, I had the all the consistency, everything that I needed.
Mhm.
Right, I had all those things, but I didn't have the athleticism. I didn't have I like to say the keys to the castle. Right,
Mhm.
I could have given myself that at the 12 to 18. I think that would have put me on that caliber of like, hey, I'm not an FCS guy anymore. Like I'm an FBS. Like I'm a high tier D1
Yeah.
football player. Regardless of what position I was playing, all through just the training
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah, man, I think about it all the time. One of the big things for me is like, same thing. I grew up in a decently small town, not as small as yours, but I didn't have any resources. My parents didn't have the money to be able to pay for that stuff. And
Yeah,
even if they did, like, where do you go? Where do you go that's going to be, cheap enough to offer that? We didn't have training apps. Nobody was a remote coach.
no, no,
There was no online coaching. There was no online strength and conditioning coaches. There was none of that. So Yeah, looking back, I mean, when I finished my playing career from Tommy John, and then the next 6 years never touching a baseball, and then, taking everything that I had learned and studied, and you know what? I'm going to take myself through my own physical therapy. I'm going to try to, rehabilitate myself as an athlete, just for fun.
Yeah,
And I went from throwing a baseball 74 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour in 7 months without touching a
yeah,
baseball in 6 years. So the like the knowing what to do is there. It's just you just have to do it. Like you were saying,
yeah,
the keys to the castle, like it's there. Like here it is. Just take it and run with it. And I've trained, same as you, hundreds and hundreds of athletes, probably close to 1,000 at this point in my career. And there's those handful of guys that take everything you say and just run with it. And then
yeah,
there's those guys that take what you say, they don't put it into practice every day. They think it's funny. They don't take it seriously. They don't see themselves making it that far, blah, 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 blah. Looking back now, I have a lot of guys and a lot of guys that'll be on this series
yeah,
that'll tell you the same thing that, man, I wish I would have done things differently. I wish I would have taken it more serious. I wish I would have, I wish I would have. But it's a
yeah,
live and learn scenario. And the more we talk about it and the more those guys talk about it to the younger generation's going to see that. And hopefully it's not one of those situations like, oh, Unk's talking crazy. He
yeah.
said he could have
In
gone
one ear, out the
pro.
other.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, sure, we could have gone pro with the proper training. Anybody can say that, right?
Yeah,
It's one of those, back in my day, I used to, if, I didn't tear my ACL, we would have won state. Like, it's not that. It's more so of like knowing what to properly do. If I would have had, a mentor in my ear teaching me that
exactly.
specific stuff, yeah, who knows where we'd be, right? I'm
It's the
super happy to be
guidance.
where I'm at right now, but yeah, that guidance we just didn't have it. It's just such a growing industry and a growing knowledge base right now. Strength and conditioning in the youth
Yeah,
sports is huge right now, and a lot of people, especially parents, still don't understand how important it is. They think, "Oh, weightlifting stunts growth,"
yeah.
which let's just stop right there. Does weightlifting stunt your growth? I don't care how
No,
young you are. Does weight?
no, it does not.
Okay.
It does not stunt your growth.
Yeah. There's so much science behind it that no, it doesn't stunt the growth. Yes, if we put a 300-pound barbell on a 9-year-old's back and said, "Hey, go ahead and squat this for reps,"
You
and
know
yeah,
that
it
that
could
might do
it could
something.
potentially break something. Yeah, but we're also not dumb. Like we're
Yeah,
not gonna do something atrocious to a 9-year-old kid that doesn't know how to, touch his toes without his knees caving in, or
yeah,
doesn't know how to do a deadlift properly or a hinge without rounding his back. Like we're not going to teach him that stuff. It's the very basics. We want to be able to teach you how to be in athletic positions first before we put you under load. And a lot of parents don't understand that. They think playing 1,000 games a
yeah,
year is going to get the kid better, which is my next question. The current state, especially in Orange County, I don't know what
yeah,
it's really like up there in Washington, but you got parents that are putting their kid on any team, no matter what, because if they're not on that team and they don't pay the $10,000 team fee, their kid's not going to be a starter on varsity. Their kid's not going to go to college. Their kid's not going to go pro. They're going to 9U tournaments in Florida and they're playing teams from down the street in California.
yeah,
I personally think that this day and age of the travel ball, the 7-on-7s, the AAU, I think it's terrible. I think it's just coaches out for a money grab. And look,
yeah,
I've ran my own travel baseball organization, so I understand it. It can easily be a money
yeah,
grab because
yeah.
parents will do anything you say.
Yeah,
But I would rather people put money into strength and conditioning. So, with
exactly.
you've seen clients, you've seen athletes take weeks and months off just because they have a season.
Yeah.
It's not even their regular season. It's an off season technically, but they're playing on a different team, same sport, different team. Where do you feel like the state of youth sports in that sense, like the travel sense? How do you feel that is going? How do you feel it's affecting the youth? Give me your take.
I mean, I don't, yeah, I really don't believe in it. Like, I'm on the same boat as you. Like, being in Orange County, seeing it and, training clients that are doing that year round training, that the club team stuff. Yeah, I don't really. I don't find much use in that. It's like, and I'm me, like the football guy, like the 7-on-7, it's great for quarterbacks, receivers, DBs. Like it's fun. It felt like more fun to me. But if you're not in the weight room year round, maintaining your progress and getting stronger and packing on those pounds, because I mean, football is obviously like one of those sports where if you have an opposition, now you can have someone
Hmm.
that weighs, I'm 200 pounds, someone else weighs 200 pounds. If I'm only benching 225, they're benching 300, they're probably going to take me out.
Right.
So that's the point where it's like you need to have, your absolute strength and your relative strength for that sport. So spending year round, putting in your training into like a strength and conditioning facility, that which is only $100 to $200 a month possibly, versus
Hmm.
spending $3,000 on 2 months of 7-on-7 play. Like, yeah, the
Hmm.
experience is cool. I get it. You get to go fly
Yeah.
out to Florida, fly to California, wherever it is, and it is fun, right? But I would say if you're a young athlete right now, or you're a parent of a young athlete, pull them out of club. Make sure they're doing their training, in the weight room. Get them actually bigger, faster, stronger. That's gonna correlate to the
Yeah.
field, right? At practice is where you get how to run routes, how to throw the ball correctly, make your right reads, and maybe some kids can handle doing both, going to the 7-on-sevens, going to travel ball, with the
Hmm.
team on top of training. But I think a lot of parents and a lot of like young individuals, they see all these glorified, things on Instagram and social media of like, oh, 7-on-7, everyone's, Moss and players, and you could
Yeah.
be, going for like three
Wearing
home
skiing goggles
runs.
and you're wearing a ski
Yeah.
mask and like,
And it's just
yeah.
like no one's pushing like, hey, like if you want to be a really good athlete, what you really need to do is find some consistency in the gym, in the
Hmm.
strength and conditioning realm, and that's where you're going to see the improvements on the field. That's where you're going to make varsity. That's where you're
Yeah.
going to put on 10 pounds of muscle in an off season. You're not going to do that at a 7-on-7 tournament, a
Yeah.
club tournament. And a big thing I see is even like soccer around. Like people play soccer
Hmm.
year round. I'm like, you're doing all these things, but how are you going to recover your knees, right? Every time you practice, you break your body down.
Right.
Just eating properly and even stretching isn't going to actually, make you any progress. You're just going to keep like in that plateau
Yeah.
of, like this food's, good, the stretching is good. Like you need to strengthen your muscles. You need to strengthen everything. You need to strengthen the joints, the tendons. That's how you get better. That's how you get faster. That's how you get more agile,
Yeah.
all these things, right? It's not in the 7-on-7. It's not in the club team stuff. All of it's
Hmm.
fun at the end of the day, but it's not going to really correlate as much as strength and conditioning will to
Hmm.
your game and to you as an athlete.
Yeah, there's a good point I wanna bring up too. You brought it up, same like the bad reps, like you're taking one bad rep, you're taking 1,000 bad reps. And shout out to two people. First one's Eric Cressy. Eric Cressy posted something really good the other day, and it was something along the lines of um, you got the spring training starting for MLB, and you have pitchers that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They might be throwing 2 to 3, maybe 4 innings at the most right now, and their season doesn't start for another couple months. And then you have 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds that have already thrown 10 innings in a random tournament,
Yeah.
on a weekend tournament in Arizona or Florida or Georgia, or preseason high school baseball, they're throwing 7, 8 innings. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you're taking something that's already bad, because if you're in the pros, it means your mechanics are dang near perfect. So
Yeah.
it means you've trained your body well enough to where that load isn't as extreme because your mechanics are well taken care of. The average 12 to 14-year-old has really bad mechanics, average. You put thousands of more reps on bad mechanics, it's just going to
Yeah.
pound it in your brain. It's going to make them worse. Trust me, I know. Yeah, I had Tommy John surgery. And then another one, same thing. First down training, Grant Caraway, he posted something a couple weeks ago, and it was something along the lines of, how he thinks 7-on-7 is kind of ruining the sport of football. Now, like you said, it's great. It's fun. It's super fun to go to tournaments, super fun to hang out
Yeah.
with your buddies and like, go do that stuff. But it's creating a false sense of reality for these athletes of, you know, quarterbacks have 4 or 5 seconds to pocket for a
Yeah.
receiver to run a 4 or 5 second route. That's not going to happen in high
Yeah.
school. That's not
Yeah.
going to
No.
happen in college. No one
No.
gets that. It's also not going to be, you're not padded. You're running as fast as you can. It's more about the talking, the showboating,
Yeah,
um, the mixtape that you could make afterward. But again, he pounded it too. Is if you have really bad mechanics as a quarterback, or as any position, but if you have really bad mechanics as a quarterback, you get out of your season, the first thing you want to do is you want to work on those mechanics.
yeah,
But what they do is they'll jump straight into a 7-on-7 and then they'll take 10,000 bad mechanical reps. And then
yeah,
they get into their next season, their padded season, and they wonder why their mechanics didn't get any better. Well, I took 10,000 reps. Like, why didn't you didn't work on your mechanics. You just worked on sitting in the pocket and throwing to your buddies. Like I can do that in the
yeah,
backyard. Like we can go run routes. Like
yeah,
I'm not going to get better. It's
exactly.
just, you're just throwing at that point. So yeah, huge shout out to those guys. Those are two guys doing it really, really well when it comes to the youth sports and high school and college sport athletes. So huge. Real quick, we got a couple of minutes. JUCO life. You were
Yeah,
part of it. I
it's
was
good
part of
stuff.
it. Going from super small town,
Oh,
you had a couple opportunities to walk on to some D1 programs. You could have gone to any D2 or D3 school pretty much you wanted up in the
yeah.
Northwest. You chose JUCO, you chose Saddleback in San Juan, California. Why? Why? And then what was your experience?
So I chose Saddleback because, man, I surrounded myself. I cut off a lot of friends in high school because I knew I was like, I need to surround myself with like two grinders, and that's what I did. Two of my best friends, and they just pushed me. They said, "Hey, if you're gonna do it, like, why not aim for the top?" Right? I'm a big guy. I talk about I don't want to aim low and fail low. If I do fail, I want to aim high, and if I fail, I'm gonna fail high.
Yeah.
Aim for
Aim high,
FBS,
miss high.
land the
Yeah.
FCS. Yeah. And so I was like, I want to go JUCO. But the problem is in Washington, there's no JUCO for football in
Right.
Washington, and there's one in Oregon, I think, like Mount Shasta, so like super southern Oregon. So I was actually going to go check out three JUCOs, but that's when COVID hit, right? Because I'm class 2020.
Hmm.
So I ended up just pulling the trigger on Saddleback. They're like, "Yeah, you can come play quarterback and receiver." I was like, "You know what? I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm coming. Like, I'm already a 2 star. Like, I already got 2 star status, which yeah, I'm no 4 or 5 star, but that's me with no strength and conditioning.
Yep.
No amazing workouts, not an amazing football team. I won 8 games on varsity my whole 4 years. 8 games. That's 2 a year, and I still was a 2 star. I still got
Yeah.
offers, right? And I'm not
Yeah.
the biggest, fastest, strongest guy out there. So I'm like, hey, give me the right tools, I can make it
Right.
happen. So I picked Saddleback. They had a really good like 2019 season. Everyone transferred out. I was like, yeah, I'm coming. Let's do this. Fast forward, I'm at some strength and conditioning facility in Orange County. I'm getting, doing all my work and I'm learning a lot more. But, I'm sitting out because it's COVID and all these things go
Yeah.
down.
You had a bunch of guys that would have gone D1, D2 that
Yeah,
that 2020 recruiting season hit and they couldn't go anywhere, so they chose what the next best process, which is JUCO in Southern California is
yeah,
good,
yeah,
and a lot
because
of them
it's
chose
the
Saddleback.
exposure. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
the exposure. Like out there, like Orange County, sports are life. Like Rochester,
Yeah.
Washington, academics, robotics club. It's not really football. It wasn't a
Fishing.
thing. But yeah, so I think I chose Saddleback. I saw competition there. I saw it's Orange County. I can go get looks. I can also develop. I'm going to surround myself with some of the best, right? I want to be surrounded by the best so I can elevate my game. I don't want to go play, at some, podunk school where it's like I'm a big fish, I'm the big fish in the pond. I didn't want that. I was already that at
Yeah.
Rochester. So that's what I wanted to find.
Right.
And then do you mind going back over the second part of the question?
Yeah, just how did it the experience getting there, like why you chose Saddleback, but then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what was your experience like? I know you had a really good strength and conditioning coach that brought you to the next level, and then you ended up doing track, and you had a really good
Yeah.
track coach. Like, where did that go?
Yeah. I mean, so I think the biggest thing is like I just kept training, right? At the end of the day, like I was sitting out for football and then I was ready to go play in 2022. I kept training though. I was working out with Saddleback and I was working out at the strength and conditioning facility, Saddleback Strength, shout out Coach Tony. But I was just grinding, 6 o'clock, 4 days a week. Like I have a lot of lifting sessions and on top of a lot more recovery because I was also
Hmm.
being JUCO, mom and dad weren't paying for everything. I'm working 2 to 3 jobs. I'm delivering pizzas at some point. I'm working in the shoe
Yep, yep,
stores. I'm working LA Fitness where I met you initially,
yep.
front desk. Like on top of all that, training was my biggest piece. Like I was in the gym, I was working my butt off, and it came down to it. I ended up dropping football for a little bit. I was like, you know what, this football, it's not for me. Like the JUCO, the grind got to me for a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
go try track. I want to go to test out an individual sport. And I didn't even really play. And I did all this work to not even play football. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back to track. I did it a little bit in high school. Let's go for it. Fast forward, I make it to state, in javelin, and I'm getting coaches DM me offers. Right, I'm on Instagram posting like my stats. Coaches would openly DM me. I'm like,
Yeah.
this didn't happen in football. I'm like, okay. So, all that training I did, I was like, hey, it still
Yeah.
paid off because I'm training. I'm athletic. I'm fast. I got that fast switch that I've been training. And it correlated over to javelin. Fortunate enough, and a little bit to discus. But all that training, that I did for football, I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, all this is gonna, go down the drain. I dropped football, but I literally walked into track and field after taking like a 4 year gap, and I made it to the state championship. I had a bunch of division schools reach out to me. Right, that's just from me training and doing all the
Yeah.
right things, doing my speed, my agility,
Yeah.
all the correct workouts. That's how important it is. Right, I wasn't going to do. I didn't run routes every day. I didn't go throw every day as a quarterback and a receiver. Right, that's not what made me, the player I was. I was in the gym grinding all the time, and
Yeah.
that's what gave me an opportunity to go compete in Division 1 track and field after dropping it for
Yeah.
4 years. Like that's not normal, right? Like most guys will go to JUCO football, and I knew all of them. They drop football, boom, onto
Right.
working your 9 to 5. I was like, hey,
Yep.
let's give javelin a shot. I'm like, it's fun. It was cool in high school. I'm like, I know I'm athletic. I'm running. I'm the fastest I've ever been, the biggest, the strongest I've ever
Yeah.
been. And fast forward, I ended up being JUCO All American. Had offers from a lot of the schools in the Big West, and yeah, I have a couple years of eligibility in the tank. But I think this is more
Maybe.
my passion.
Oh, you
But
never know. Don't close that door until you close it. We
yeah,
might see you we might see you on Saturdays here soon.
yeah,
Last question because I know you got to bounce. You get to go back and talk to 13-year-old Danny, who is in eighth grade, and he's about to go into high school for the first time.
yeah.
30 seconds. What do you tell him? 30 seconds.
Uh, 30 seconds. I would say, hey, find your small group of guys, right? You don't need to have 1,000 friends. Find your 2 to 3 really good friends with a good mindset that bust their ass, right? And I'd say stay in the weight room, hit the weights, right? It's gonna suck at first, but hit the weights, stay consistent. Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is small circle, hit the weights, do some more research, right? YouTube was available. Do your research and just stay in the weight room. And yeah, and don't spend a bunch of time chasing girls, right? That's simple. That's simple, Spend more
Oh
time in
man,
the weight room. All
we could have
right,
a
that's
whole
what it
episode
is.
just on that. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I get you on that. Well, man, I appreciate it. I know you got to bounce. Thanks for
of
talking
course.
today. Yeah, man, you had a little bit of a fun journey and an interesting journey.
Yeah.
We love to hear about it. But I'll let you go on with your day, and yeah, we look forward to episode number 2.
Yes, sir. Enjoy the day.
All right, man. Talk to you later.